Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I am going to be making my Mother's Day card. So the dies that I'm going to be using are from Sue Wilson, her Scandinavian collection. Now I have got my card sketchbook here. It's my Erin Condren, and I've gradually been transferring things across because it's a fairly new sketchbook for me. But at the beginning here I have got the sketch that I've sketched out for this card. So what I did was I started with, in order to work out the sizing, this was going to be my kind of main element, in not main as in focal element, but the sizing piece, because that's going to determine the size of my card, because I want everything to be proportionate to that going outwards, etc. So I measured this and it came up as 6 by 4. So then when I did my sketch and worked out the different layerings that I'm doing from that, I was able to work out that if I did a 7 by 5 card, that it would work out, fingers crossed. So the first thing that I'm going to do in making the card is actually stamp my stamp out. Now this actually is a stamp that complements the dies, so the dies will actually fit around this stamp nicely, and I just thought that was such a pretty design. Okay, so I've peeled the backing off my stamp, and then I'm just going to pop that on my block. I've got some Tim Holtz Black Soot Distress ink, and I also have got a piece of my white card. I've cut that down just so that it will go through my die cutting machine, because I've got my Sizzix here, and the reason I like using the Sizzix if it will go through is because it's got that great magnetic plate, and you don't seem to have the issues that we get with some of the others where you have to put it through a couple of times, so because of the pressure problems and things. So I'm just making sure that this is nicely inked up. There we go, and then just turn that over and stamp it, and then making sure to press all areas of my stamp so that it is really well put down onto the paper. Okay, but actually it's come up absolutely gorgeous. Isn't that lovely? So we're going to put that to one side to dry. Okay, so I've got my Sizzix and I've got my magnetic plate, my first acrylic matte plate, whatever you want to call it, and then we're going to cut out all our different elements. And I'm going to start with my lovely pink background die. So we're just going to get a piece of the pink card. Again, I've cut this in half just so that it will go through my Sizzix okay. I want to put it in the corner because this hasn't got border on this to cut around the edge, so it's just going to cut sort of the holes. So I'm going to have to cut the edge to make it a border separately, just by hand. So if I do two sides near the edges here, I'll have two already cut and we'll know they're perfectly square. So if I just show you what I mean, you can see, look, there's no actual cut line all the way around like a square, it's just the holes, which is great. I mean, you could, I mean, if I was doing this, I could have a piece of card sort of just under 7 by 5 and put this in there and it would have just all the lovely lacy holes, but because I want it as a matte and a layer, I'm going to pop it into our corner here. That's nicely in position, and then I'm going to put my next layer on, my next acrylic matte, and then I'm going to just whip that through. Okay, so then we're going to lift that up, just see is it all cut through nicely, which it is, it's gone through beautifully. Then we're just going to pop that out. Now you can see what I mean about the edge. There's this edge, because it was already cut, has cut, but there was no border around the outside of this, so that's why it didn't cut. And then we're just going to very gently let these pieces just pop out. Okay, so here it is, isn't it lovely? So now all I need to do is just take my trimmer and just cut along those edges so that it matches these two sides. Okay, so that's that piece cut. So now what I want to do is cut another piece of pink, which is just about the same size, maybe just a tiny bit bigger, so that we have the tone on tone. There we go. And then that will sit on there, and that just gives a tiny margin around the edge, which I think looks really nice, and I like the tone on tone. And then I want to cut my corners that are in my pink. So we're going to have to go through a few times on those because I've only got one corner and I need obviously 4. And for the corner we're using this one here, which is in the, again, it's all the Scandinavian collection, and this is corner, border and tag. So we're just going to grab the corner. Now because these are brand new, I haven't used them before, so they're literally coming straight out the packaging. So then we're going to pop that piece of card. I'm going to use the smaller piece because I think I'll get all 4 out of this. It would help if I had the die the right way up, however. So we're just going to pop that. Yeah, that has, now if you see the difference with this one, can you see how this has got the cut all the way around the edge? So that's going to actually cut the corner out as opposed to the other one. Now normally when you have the dies that don't cut around the edge, they give you a separate die to go around the edge to cut it out. So you can see that in a minute when we have the tags or the labels or whatever they're called. But because this is square, I imagine that really it wasn't worth putting that in. So let's pop that through. Okay, so here's our first corner. Isn't that pretty? So we're going to put that down, and then we're going to do 3 more exactly the same. Okay, so there's all 4 cut out. So they look really pretty, I think. I really like those. I'm hoping they're going to fit on my design all right, because I really like them. Okay, so here's our little stamp that we did. So just going to pop that there, and I've got one of the pieces from this set. There's the 2 sets, the Stockholm from the Scandinavian collection and the Oslo, both have dies that would fit around that stamp, but I liked this particular design because it had the little bits in the corner that kind of I really liked that would go with the rest of it. So we're going to line it up on top of our stamp, which is why it's really good having the magnetic sheet, because it just makes it so much easier. So just run that through. I mean, as you can see, look, that's just popped out, no difficulty. Those little elements in the corner have just popped through, so it looks really nice, I think. I need to get the next piece, and this is also from the Stockholm set, and it's the biggest piece and then the piece down like this. So we're going to pop that piece of card. So I've got my magnetic plate, my acrylic plate, then I'm going to put my die down. So I'm going to now cut this piece out, and I think this is just gorgeous. What I wanted to do was just add a little bit of inking. So I've got my Distress Ink spun sugar, and I've got my little brush, and I'm just going to take my little brush and I'm going to ink onto that, putting that on there, and then we're just going to gently brush over the edges, and it really doesn't take very much to make a difference. It's surprising, and it only needs to be delicate, because if you compare it to the colour of that, you don't want it too strong, because it's going to be too much. Okay, so now we're going to just give it a bit of a wallop, and then just take that out, take any other little pieces away. There we go. And that, hopefully you can see, oh there we go, You can see the lovely inking on that, and it's really soft and delicate. It's not got any harsh lines, and that's why I like using the brush one instead. Okay, and the next bit that I want to cut, and I think it's the last bit as well at the moment anyway, I might want to cut something for the inside, but at the moment the last piece that I need to cut is from the Oslo set, and that's just these two edge pieces again, the nice decorative bits. So I'm going to cut 2 of these. So I'm just popping that on the end there, and then my border around the edge of that, and then I'm just going to pop that through the machine, and then we should have another space at the front to do it again. Okay. And there we go. Perfect. That's what I mean about you just give it a bit of a whack and all the bits come out. So isn't that beautiful? There we go. And that's our second piece. So I'm going to pop that to one side to cut up in due course. So okay, so I also just cut from the borders and corners set the tag with, and I pre-stamped the Happy Mother's Day, and that's in the lovely pink. So I've just put that because that will probably go on the inside, but I just thought I'd get it ready in case I wanted it on the outside. So now I want to cut my black layer, and I've got my piece of pink here. I just want to double check my measurements. So it was 4 1/8 by 6 1/8. So now I want to cut the black by 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So that will go just, yeah, that's perfect. So that's just going to sit as a nice border around there. Just a very small amount of the black just to lift it just a little bit. And then I need to cut my card base. So we're doing it 7 by 5. So I want to cut it to 10 inches wide. And then I need to cut it to 7 inches high. And then I'm going to turn that around, and I do this apparently, and I'm going to score it at 5 inches. Okay, let's see. There we go. There's our card base. So let's start putting this together. And the first thing I want to do actually is put my background onto my pink here. So I'm going to be using my Cosmic Shimmer. You can see that piece is easy to do, it's just the rest of it that's less. Okay, and then I'm just going to get my little roller here and just very carefully roll over this, because that just helps stick any little bits down. Okay, so you can see how pretty that looks. Just that tone on tone looks so nice. And then I'm going to take that and pop it onto the black here. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that over again, just using my Cosmic Shimmer because it's just going to be flat. There we go. And then just pop that onto the black there, just very carefully. And the Cosmic Shimmer, of course, just gives you that little bit of movement time. Again, I want this to be flat, this element, so I'm just going to get my Cosmic Shimmer. Then we're going to get my 4 little corners and pop those on, and they're going to go down with the Cosmic Shimmer as well. There we go. So that's the 4 corners, and I think they look so pretty. I think the whole thing's looking pretty. I love that, just that little bit of black as well. See, this is what I'm planning, is that this is going to go in the centre here, and these 2 bits are going to be, to say, popping out the back. So the next thing I really need to do is just pop that to one side a minute, is cut these 2 in half. You can see that there's longer sides and shorter sides, even though they're sort of ovally. So one piece we want to go across that way and one piece we want to go down. Okay, and then we want to make sure that we go from that point to that point. What you do in the middle is probably not too important. It's just as long as those bits are roughly right. Okay, and then going from top to bottom this time. There we go. So all I'm going to do is take the back of this and just put some tape along here, and that should be more than enough just to do what we need to do. So then we put that piece, get rid of that there, this piece at the bottom. So what I'm trying to do is line that bottom bit with that piece down there so that we know that it's in the right position. That's good enough. Then these two bits the same, this side point with that point there, and that just helps us make sure that we know that everything's kind of lined up correct. Whoops, that didn't stick. Of course it won't, because we need a little bit more adhesive now, because we've got those pieces covering up some of our adhesive, so we just need to go back on there and do that. So then we're just going to turn it around because it's easier. There we go. It's coming up real pretty, isn't it? And this kind of chopping up idea is from Sue herself. I saw her doing it and I just thought it looked so nice. And now I've got a lovely lacy element, and we've got the pink, and then it's going on the pink, so it's going to be just so pretty, I think. Okay, so then we need to, I'm going to raise that bit up, but before we do that, I am going to put my stamp element in the center, and for that I'm just going to again be doing that flat, and then we're just going to pop that in the center of our pinky bit here. So pretty. Okay, so before we finish the outside, I just want to work on the inside. So I've cut 2 more pieces of card, 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 and 6 1/8 by 4 1/8, and I'm going to stick those two together using my Cosmic Shimmer. And this time, instead of the pink layer like we did on the front, because I've got pink for my sentiment, I'm going to use white. So if you look at the front in a minute, it had the black with the pink layered onto it. So we're just slightly changing that. And it will make it easier as well for when I actually want to write my own message. So we're just popping that on. And then I'm going to turn that over and I'm going to put this black piece onto my card. There's 2 good things about doing this, is that the front has got a lot of weight on it now. So if you don't layer up the inside as well, it tends to make the back of the card feel really cheap and light. So I think it's always better, if you're putting quite a few layers on the front, to do some layering on the inside. So I've got my Happy Mother's Day here. So I'm just going to put some glue, Cosmic Shimmer on the centre here, and then just a little smidge on the edge here, like so. And then I'm just going to pop that down about there. So I'm just using a bit of scrap, actually a bit of scrap of ribbon, just so that when I press that down it absorbs the excess glue, so when I then go to close my card it's not going to stick to itself and stay stuck closed. Anyway, you know what I mean. Okay, so now I am going to put my front together. Actually, before I put that on though, I'm going to use this enamel accents, and they're like, you can make little faux pearls out of them and it's really cute. So I'm going to pop those around the edges before I put this piece down, because this will be raised, because I won't be able to get underneath so easy. So let me just show you, all we're doing is putting those little faux pearls. So I'm going to go all the way around and then I'll come back to you in a minute. Okay, so I've gone all the way around the edges there now with my little faux pearls. I think that looks really sweet. It's a very intricate card. There's a lot going on, so you can really get away with putting loads on there, I think. So I think, you know, if you can, go for it. So I am now going to take my pinflair glue, just put that to one side, and I'm going to pop that on the back of my card here. This is the only piece that I'm going to raise up, and not even like masses, just to give it just a little bit of dimension, but we don't need loads, so just put those on the back and then grab that, make sure it's the right way up, make sure the card is opening and it's the right way up as well, so before you stick it down everything is correct. And then we're going to take this and very carefully, I'm just putting it slightly higher, so not in the centre but just very slightly up of the centre, which will give me room then for my ribbon. Okay, let me just show you, see what I mean? And then from the side you can see it's not like massively high, it's just a little of dimension, and I think that just adds that little something to it. So then I've got a ribbon that I tied, a bow. I tied it in the Silky Crush, so a little bow, and I'm just going to pop that bow to the side here, again using my pin flare here. So we're just going to put a blob of glue across there like so. Get my pin flare, get my card, pop that down kind of at the side like so. And then I've got one of these lovely pearl dazzlers, really pretty, and I'm just going to put some of the pin flare, and then we're just going to pop that little pearl dazzler on top of the centre of my ribbon. There is the bow on my card there, and it's the centre dazzler. Well, they're called dazzlers, but it's just like a pearl button, isn't it? I think that looks really pretty. And now I'm just still thinking that I want to put some corners on here in the pink just to finish off that inside. So I'm going to set the card to one side, and some of that will start to just set off a little bit, which will be good. And while it's doing that, I'm just going to cut 4 more pink corners, and then I'll come back to you and show you. Okay, so I'm just cutting out one of the borders from that same set that had the corner out in, and also I've got one of the corners in there, so, well, it's only got one corner, but I'm cutting one corner in here, and then I'm going to go through and cut 3 more corners. But I just thought I'd show you what the border comes out like, because I think it's going to be so pretty. So here's our border. Give it a bit of a wallop, get those bits out. There we go. And I just need to do a little bit more popping out of the corner bits, but you can see how beautiful that is. So I'm going to go through and cut the rest of the corners out as well, and then I'll come back to you in a minute. Okay, so here's our border and 4 corners. I decided to cut the border as well because the outside is so elaborate, and then you go into the middle and it kind of looks like, oh, that's a bit boring compared to the outside. So I'm just going to be very carefully putting my 4 corners in, and then I thought just a nice bit of a border just down that edge just to bring that across, and I think that'd be look lovely. So and there is the inside of our card. Doesn't that look pretty? That makes such a difference, I think. Just that little bit of extra care, and all of a sudden the inside of the card looks really nice. And there is the outside of our card. Again, I think that looks really nice as well. So that is it. I don't think I want to do any more. I think I'm happy with that. And now that the inside is done, but there it is. And the inside. Very pretty. Hopefully Mummy will like it. And I will see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. You got the
face to fit the frame. I cannot look away. Like, can't you see I'm hypnotized? We're picture perfect, sweet like candy. I'll be your girl, yeah, I'll be your baby. Picture perfect, barefoot beauty. You stole my heart just like in a movie. Got the key to me. Tell me I'm your darling daisy. Picture perfect, sweet like candy. I'll be your girl, yeah, I'll be your baby. Spinning me around, falling on the ground. Got to say your voice is my favorite sound. Counting every star, dreaming every dream. You and I can live out the perfect scene.